Now, a while ago, I was looking for stealth games to play on emulators, which are a hard thing to find because most 2D games have a really hard time making stealth levels. So I thought back to the various 3D games you could play on your Mio Mini Plus, and that led me to find Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And when I was playing through that game, I hated it. I couldn't stand it because to me the PS2 version of Chamber of Secrets is the best Harry Potter game ever made, and to play a PS1 version that feels so close to it but isn't quite there was like being able to see heaven but being denied access. So which Harry Potter games should you play on emulators?
Well, how about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for Game Boy Color? Because despite being the oldest, it's by far the most enjoyable, if you don't have a PlayStation 2. And unlike the PS2 version, it's not an open world action game. It's a turn-based RPG, but unlike most other turn-based RPGs for the era, this one is nice and simple. So many RPGs cannot wait to crank the combat up to 11 and add confusing system after confusing system. The Game Boy Color Harry Potter is wonderfully streamlined around the narrative, so you'll never hit that combat wall which stops your progression. You'll never really have to grind, and nor will you be confused by some overly complicated story, because you know what happens in Harry Potter. And it turns out it's still pretty enjoyable, and it will need that enjoyable story because while it is easy in combat, there's no map, which means you have to basically memorize your way around Hogwarts, and makes quests incredibly confusing at times. And that's not to say there's not things to explore in this game,
Because Harry Potter came out at a really cool time when movie games were made like before the movies and in tandem with them.
while this game does follow the plot of the books, it does not follow the plot of the movie. So if you are a fan of the series who hasn't read the books recently, you'll actually get new/more content than if you simply followed the movie plot directly, while still never being confused about what's going on. The game also happens to look pretty good for a Game Boy Color game, especially when you compare it to something like Pokemon, which came out on the same system. There are some really fun secrets to find in Hogwarts, secret passages, hidden minigames, alternate endings, because this game was built during a time period when devs were focused on enabling and rewarding the player. You can beat the main story in this game and still lose the House Cup. You keep your XP when you die, so no fight is ever really wasted. And you can spend hours looking for secrets that actually have meaningful content behind them. But the danger of doing so is getting so lost it basically ruins your playthrough. And no one really wants to spend too much time playing on an emulator like the Mio Mini Plus. You want to pick it out of your pocket and get straight to the good stuff. And this game's good stuff is so good that when they stopped making Game Boy Color cartridges entirely, they took its turn-based combat and added it to the GBA games, which are these horrible open world action games. Very similar in style to the Lord of the Rings GBA games. And if you want to know more about them, I could go over all of them and all the various versions that every Harry Potter game seems to have. But Mickey D has already done that, and his video is amazing, so go watch his video. But even he will agree that the Game Boy Color Harry Potter is something special. And until we get an emulator that gives us a mobile PS2 to play Chamber of Secrets, it's the best Harry Potter game out there.
With the Game Standard here at Tibbs TV, I'm Jonathan Rosenblum.